when you can really be authentically you, it changes everything. And I think as dentists, we are good little boys and girls who, went to school, and then we get a lot of kudos for doing such a noble career, and it's going to be full of stability and security, and we're going to help people. It's going to be amazing. And we really settle into that. And then throughout our careers, we keep getting that advice from everybody in dentistry. It's like, okay, wait till school, it's going to get better. Buy a practice, it'll get better. Oh, you're unhappy? Do more of the procedures you like. It's like more and more and more. And it's the one that works for some people, but for the people who doesn't work, it's like we're telling them to do more of the thing that's burning them out and making them feel depressed. Doesn't make sense, right?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you're new here. We have an amazing recovering dentist here with us today. So, Dr. Laura Brenner, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, for people who haven't met you yet, can you tell us a little bit more about your story?
Yeah, so I practiced dentistry for 10 years, and I became so burnt out in year 3 that I thought I hated my career. And this was in 2004. Nobody was talking about burnout in any field. Do you remember 2004? It was not really a thing, right?
No. In 2014, when I was in the pits, it was not a thing either.
Oh, totally, right? I mean, this really started happening, I'd say like 2018-ish.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what it was. And I remember thinking, I'm too young to be burnt out. Like, there's no way. And just over the years, it got worse and worse. That was started in my 3rd year. And then by the time I hit year 10, it just got so bad that I had to quit. And I wasn't finding solutions, and I had to leave dentistry. So um, that was challenging because we dedicate our whole lives to getting here. And it's like, I always compare it to a marriage. It's like when you marry your career and feel like it's going to be your happy ever after, it can be devastating to find out that it's not going to be, and to go through that process. So um, I quit dentistry after 10 years. That was in 2011. And I didn't know what to do. Actually, let me rephrase that. I didn't know what to do. And then I started blogging. And then I started a side gig doing weight loss coaching. And then I was able to quit. And then lots of different side gigs happen along the way. I wrote a blog post that went viral, and which ultimately led to me starting a career coaching business for dentists and hygienists.
And I find your blog hilarious. It's informative and really funny. So for people that may not know your website, can you share where they can read your blog?
Yes, so it's Lolabees Career Coaching.com. And if you can't spell that, because I know there's lots of typos that happen when we're typing, just do a Google search for 10 reasons your dentist probably hates you too, and it'll bring up my blog. So
And then read all the comments in there. Like, so, oh my God, I can't believe a dentist is going to say this. But it's refreshing to say what we really truly think. And yours was kind of a spin-off of some other article. Is that right?
yes, it was good one, Jillian. It was it was, let's see, I was still practicing at the time, and I was really unhappy, and I didn't know what to do, so I started blogging. So I blogged about food and travel, two things that I love. Nobody read my blog. I mean, I think about 6 people would ever read my blog. And then one day I saw this blog that was being promoted. So I have a WordPress blog, which is a great platform for blogging because they really create good community. Well, they used to, at the time, pick out blogs that they thought were worthy of sharing with their community. And I saw this blog post titled 10 Reasons I Hate the Dentist. So everyone thought that was fantastic. And I saw that and I was like, oh, right. And she was kidding. She was like totally being sarcastic and silly. Um, but I was in a lot of pain at that time. And for me, one of the biggest sources of pain in dentistry was the doctor patient relationship. That was something I could never really sort out. And so I was just like, all right, fine. I'm like, here's and I wrote a reply to 10 reasons I hate the dentist, and it was 10 reasons your dentist probably hates you too. And people were excited about it because nobody ever gets the chance. Like, as dentists, we're always being so professional and we
Yeah.
want to take care of our patients and we want to do the right thing. And so did I. I even waited to post it until after I actually quit dentistry so that none of my patients would see it. And literally that night it went viral. The day I posted it, it was that night my phone started blowing up telling me, and it was something I never expected. I was just playing. I was just like, all right, well, fine, here you go. And people felt, I think, like a collective sigh of relief, like, oh, we finally get to share our side of the story, and make fun of you back because it was making fun of patients in a big way.
Yeah. And I think when people sit down and they tell you, I hate the dentist, it takes a toll. And I
Big time.
remember, yeah, I remember and I would love to hear what your mindset was when you pursued dentistry, because mine was, I thought this is where I get approval and I have that nice acceptance by my family. And you think this is going to be it, like the arrival fallacy, like this will be it. And then when I got there and everyone's like, I hate the dentist. And you're like, here, I thought I would be a highly respected professional and no one likes me. And that to me, it showed me that maybe my motives weren't exactly aligned with what it actually meant to be a dentist, because that broke me so quickly. How about for you?
Me too. And there's, I'd say, a couple things going on. You and I were probably those good patients who went to the dentist and we really were kind to them, and we were polite and we did what they told us to do. And so I always had a great experience at the dentist. I had no idea that patients could be so unhappy coming to see us, right? And some of them downright mean, right? They can be
Yeah.
so mean. So that was a big shock for me. And I think dentistry in general I think it's not the only career like this, but you never really know what it's going to be like until you do it, right? Even if you're a dental assistant or you run the front office or a hygienist, you never actually know how this is going to be until you do it. Well, you can't do that until you've invested years and money and your whole identity into this thing, and then you go and do it and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, this is not what I thought it was. So same here, I thought it was going to be all like warm fuzzies and good times, and I want a lot of that in my life. And actually I was like, why can't I have that in my life? Like, why do I have to have a life full of suffering and challenges? Like, it's not any more meaningful that way. So that's a whole different topic.
It is a great topic though, because that's why I pursued Air Force oral surgery. I thought you had to do the hardest thing possible in order to prove something. And I remember going back to dental school and we have all these doubts. So if there's students listening, I'd love to hear from you. What was your experience like in dental school?
My experience in dental school, you know what, I actually like dental school. It was fun, just in some ways. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it was fun. I had lots of good friends, and when you've got that camaraderie, see, this is showing you the things that are important to me, right? I really like
Mhm.
that camaraderie and connection and friendship, and I got that in dental school. And yeah, it was annoying that sometimes teachers were mean and they were sometimes bullies, and some of those things were pretty awful. But the overarching theme was, this is hard, and is it as good as undergrad was from a standpoint of like feeling free and having fun? No, right? Like, I always say to people, graduate school is not like undergrad.
Yeah.
So don't think if you continue on, don't think you're going to get the same thing. Um, but there was that safety net of having the instructors who had licenses, who, if something went wrong, they could help you. Um, And so the same challenges and fears weren't there for me personally. I know some people really they hate dental school. But for me, I really enjoyed what came with it. And also, I'd say I was hopeful. So there's something to be said about having hope, right? Like their positive psychology has told us that when you have hope, you are happier. And so I was hopeful that this was even though it was kind of a drag at the time, this was going to give me my perfect future. And that just kept me going. So I pretty much enjoyed it. It wasn't really until I got into the real world that things started becoming very painful.
Yeah, and that's so great to capture because in dental school, we can't wait to finish. And I always think, okay, I am a huge advocate for doing an AEGD or GPR because the transition between dental school and private practice is a huge leap. And especially if you haven't had, I mean, I don't know how much clinic time would be enough in those 4 years that we have, but sometimes people have 2 years without any clinic and then 2 years with clinic, and some programs have a little bit more clinic exposure. But having someone to be there when you make bigger mistakes to help you to rectify those is a much better transition. Did you do a year in between or did you go straight into private practice?
I went straight in at the time. So this was 2001 when I graduated. And at the time, I think very few people were doing AEGDs and GPRs. The majority of us, we just wanted to get out of school and start working. Now, we did have a lot of requirements. So that was good. I mean, I think over the third and fourth year, we had to do like 50 units of crown and bridge. We had to do 100 extractions. It's not enough really. When you get out, you just never, it never feels like enough. But I feel really sorry for the students who are coming out now and during COVID times. Like, it makes sense that they would come out of school and feel totally um, inadequate and have major anxiety and feel like they're not prepared and deal with imposter syndrome because they don't. I mean, some of them were in practice scared to just try a root canal because I don't know if they ever did one. Whereas, like for us, it was. I think it was just a different time.
Yeah, maybe so. I graduated in 2013 and I had always planned to do another year. And I think part of it also is personality. Like I'm a little bit more risk averse and I had a lot of self doubt. And I thought, so in dental school, I wanted to quit every year because, like, I don't think this is for me, but it was confounded by lack of confidence. So I kept getting told I was excelling in my work, but I didn't feel like I was. And so I was told that it's self confidence. And I thought, well, if I just gain more experience, then it'll be better. Right. And it's like, it's kind of hard to tease apart. Like this is just not for you. And it's a challenging decisions, like you said, because there's that whole sunk cost fallacy where I spent all of my early years training to do this, so I have to do this. Or for me, it was I have to pay off the loans that I took out to do this until I can move forward. And I think that is a mindset that many people share. Have you encountered that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And this is the thing that they're always saying in dentistry. It's like if you're in school and you don't like it, then just wait, it'll get better, right? Well, that's a pretty big expense and sacrifice to, especially now with this like 500,000, half a million in loans, right?
Yeah.
Coming out of school. So I'll call them sort of cookie cutter responses, right? It's like, oh well, dental school's the way it is. It'll be so much better in the real world. But then we keep doing it to people in the real world, right? Oh, you're unhappy? Buy your own practice because then you can control everything. And that's a great option for some people, but all these suggestions and options, they're totally cookie cutter. They're not going to work for everyone. And I talk to a lot of people who have dug a deeper hole, unfortunately, because they're following this hive mind. Lolabees were like bumblebees, so I'll call it a
Yeah.
hive mind of of thinking that there's only one way to do this and only one way to be successful. And I know that was a big part of what drove you. as well as feeling like you needed to be successful in a certain way.
Yeah. And the identity of it, it becomes your identity. And when I wanted to be an Air Force oral surgeon, I was really proud of that identity. And I thought anything else would not be enough to overcome what I perceived as weaknesses in about myself, like being a highly sensitive person. Uh, Mostly, because like what's society or an introvert, it's like I don't know where I thought that going into dentistry, and you were talking about asking questions sometimes with dentistry, there's probably a lot of neurodivergence, some people undiagnosed autism, and I was just evaluated for that this year, and I was like, never did I ever set myself up for success in a very loud with the drill, like everything's just loud and moving. And I loved the OR because it was quiet, but with surgery comes clinic and I didn't have a realistic acceptance for what the full spectrum of what I'd have to be doing would be, and appreciation for honoring what I actually needed to thrive. And I thought I could do it. Sleepless nights, we do that all the time. I can do it. Yeah, it's great. It's great, and it's definitely a shared thought process for many people. So I'll just state it out loud for all the people that I was like, yeah, that's me. And a lot of so you coach a lot of dentists, and I had the opportunity to coach a lot of surgeons, and it's the same. It's like I thought I needed to be a surgeon in order, like the same mindset that I face. And I think the people that are, can relate to our story come like, I don't know if I can admit I don't want to be a surgeon anymore, but I'm a safe space because I left. Right. And I would
Right.
love for you to share about your coaching, because as a huge advocate for coaching, what you were saying is the advice people are given is cookie cutter. And if people haven't had exposure to coaching, why I love it is it's not cookie cutter. It's really turning inward and assessing, what do you really want? Is this in alignment with your values? And are you seeing clearly what you're actually going towards? Or is it just the illusion of what you think that means? So can you share a little bit
Yeah,
more about your coaching experiences?
absolutely. And I love what you said about coaching. It's so true. And I think a lot of us have experienced that power. And that's why we want to pass that along to others, because we know when you can really be authentically you, it changes everything. And I think as dentists, we are good little boys and girls who, um, went to school, and then we get a lot of kudos for doing such a noble career, and it's going to be full of stability and security, and we're going to help people. It's going to be amazing. And we really settle into that. And then throughout our careers, we keep getting that advice from everybody in dentistry. It's like, okay, wait till school, it's going to get better. Buy a practice, it'll get better. Oh, you're unhappy? Do more of the procedures you like. It's like more and more and more. And it's the one that works for some people, but for the people who doesn't work, it's like we're telling them to do more of the thing that's burning them out and making them feel depressed. Doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
um so I think that silences a lot of people. Like if you look at people who've made it for at least a decade, or maybe not, but if you look at people who've experienced this feeling of, it doesn't feel right to me, like I'm not happy, um it gets suppressed because all of the messaging around it is just like, well, keep doing more, keep trying. And so what happens is you never find solutions. And I think that you never find solutions because there's not someone there who's allowing you to create your own authentic experience and admit what's true for you. So I think in my coaching, I provide a very different approach, and it's not for everyone, right? Like the people who are, wanting to, uh, I don't know, they love their practice and they just want to turn it into $1 million practice. That's not my people, right? Like I'm happy for you and I love that. But the people, it's like it feels like a mission for me to help the people who really feel silenced by the dental community. Like, how can I give them a voice? Because when they can express what's true for them and I don't dismiss it, I actually validate that, yeah, maybe you are in the wrong career. Yeah, maybe you do hate this. Yeah, if you're waking up every single day dreading getting out of bed and dreading your life, that's a problem. And we need to do something about that, right? It's like we just need to get that permission first. So
Yeah.
my approach is very contrarian to everything else in dentistry in that sense because I really experience that and I know you get it too and you
Yeah.
probably do similar stuff is like when you've experienced that and you then think that there's something wrong with you because of this career, um we need support because that's not true. Maybe you're just in the wrong career or something about it isn't working out for you that you need to fix, right? But um it's giving the people the opportunity to really sit in their truth and then create solutions out of that.
Yeah, and it's hard when people have been people pleasing and disconnected for a long time. So Martha Beck has this change cycle, and the first stage is death and rebirth. It's a stage that's often neglected by many, including myself, until I learned it's important to sit in it because it's not comfortable. It's letting go of a lot of things, the thoughts, the people that at some point, that made sense to have them in your life, and then all of a sudden, like, we make big changes, but we have to allow ourselves to grieve that and sit in stillness, because the issue is, if I'm getting anxious because I want to change careers, which I will share from experience, right? I want to change residencies because I don't think I can continue oral surgery one more day because I was having suicidal ideation. But I was not tolerating rest because we're hardworking people, and I associated rest with laziness, and I had guilt and shame about quitting. So it's very important for me that people have permission to pivot, because if they don't, they feel trapped. And if they feel trapped, they become suicidal sometimes. And so it's not necessary, right? I have an article, I risked my career to save my life. Well, that's because many people risk their life to preserve their career, or even just the impression that they're succeeding in their career. And our society leads us on these paths that, now after experiencing what we have, and I lost my ex-boyfriend, passed away suddenly, and my co-resident did, and I was, very ill when I was in surgery, and I was like, our society is really focusing on these superficial things, and not only is it not leading us to happiness often, but it's taking us away from the connections that you said were just so important to you, like the actual core things that would bring us the peace and happiness that we're truly seeking at the core.
That is so well said. And it makes us lose connection with ourselves and lose touch with who we are and what we want. And so then we go, okay, well um what are things that other people are doing? You know that question, what are typical jobs that dentists can do? I always make fun of it because I'm like, that's the wrong question.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, I- it's about finding the joy and the harmony and the creativity in your life so that you can really accept who you are and listen to yourself and trust yourself instead of constantly doing what everybody else wants for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And giving yourself permission to do that. A mentor recently asked me, what do you want? As a new person, I hadn't met him before, and I was looking for my next steps in my career now. And when he asked me that, I started tearing, because I hadn't truly given myself, like, I advocate for it often, right? But there's this disconnect because there's this resistance from having been a people pleaser for so long and afraid to lean into who I am, because what if then I'm not enough, or maybe I'm afraid that it will bring up a whole lot of things, right? And yes, sure it will. And I feel like I can trust myself to process through that. But when we truly gives ourselves permission to say, what do you want? And it's like, oh yeah, I want to leave dentistry. And you did that. So how the heck, right? If people are like, how the heck did you do it? You said you in year 3, and then you left in year 10, right?
Mhm. That was a long time. So how did I do it? A lot of trial and error, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of tears, a lot of sleepless nights. And by the way, just like you, you had a very different path because you went into the oral surgery route and then the oral medicine, right?
Yeah.
My route was very much um I tried to save my career. I went to the Pankey Institute 4 times, right? Like
What is
I
the
did
institute for people who
oh
don't know
yeah,
me?
that's right. I forget because I'm like, you're in dentistry to me, right? But it's a little different world. The Pank Institute, I don't know if you've heard of like Dawson or Spear. It's a very highly valued continuing education program that you spend thousands of dollars to go and you do like these week-long continuums. So if you think about it, I went 4 times. That was a month of going down to Florida and learning how to do, dentistry my way on my terms, right? So that it's supposed to be this really high quality, amazing dentistry, which is great. I love all these things. But when you try that, and even that doesn't work, it's like, okay, start listening to yourself, right? Um, so I tried everything I could to fix dentistry. I tried different jobs. I never wanted to own a practice. So I think it's really important to honor that. If you don't want to own a practice, do not let people convince you. I know way too many people who have allowed other people to tell them to buy a practice, and they have ended up more stuck.
Yeah.
It's like you dig a deeper hole, you
Yeah, I would
know?
never ever. I
Um,
knew I would never be a practice owner in dental school. It just
yeah,
knew it. Like I like academia, even though it's political in all these regards, but there's something at least I know about I would not want to own. And I really
yeah,
highly respect people that choose either way.
totally. And that's the thing. I love what you just said because it's like, I think you would agree with this. We're not here to get anyone to do anything with their
No.
career,
Yeah.
except we're here to get you to do what you want.
ex- That's
That's what
what
we're here to do.
for the people pleasers, I always start my coaching calls with whatever you do, like, because if they're trying to gauge like how I'm responding, I'm like, I want what's best for you. If you do this, like, and it feels like the best fit, great. I'm supportive. If I'm like, I'm on your side, but
Right.
what wouldn't be a win is if you do something because you think I think you should do that and you don't really, because we can feel something here and then all of a sudden we start like, I can fit myself back in that box. I can make it work. No.
Right. And actually, um, a question I ask everybody that I talk to, and then I'll get back to your original question, is if I could hand you a magic wand and you could wave it and redesign your life starting tomorrow, paint that picture for me. And do you know that's the hardest question for dentists to answer? Because they're in that people pleasing mode. They're afraid. They're afraid to admit to themselves what they even want. So I have other ways of helping them get clear on what they want, but they're afraid to even admit it to themselves. And I was that way too.
Yeah.
So for me to actually change, this is why I do what I do now because there was no support. I worked with a career coach. I even tried to like dentistry with working with a career coach. There were no coaches in dentistry at the time, at least that I knew of. Um, I got therapy. I did a lot. But the sort of like one of the big turning points was for me when I came home one day crying again. And my husband was like, we can't do this anymore. He
Mm,
was like you need to sort this out. Like if you come home every night crying and you're up at 2 a.m. every night with insomnia because you're worried and tossing and turning about your patients or the cases, he's like, this marriage is not going to last. I had no idea how my depression was affecting him. I was so in my own head that I didn't even consider it. And you can imagine how awful it was for him too to have me constantly being depressed and complaining and sad. Like, that's hard for everyone to be around, right? So I joke that that was an ultimatum, but it was really permission. I needed the one person, and he said to me, he's like, I don't care what we have to do. If we have to sell the house, fine. If we have to move, that's okay. He's like, but you need to sort this out because you, and I didn't know that I deserved to live a happy life, right? Like, I don't think we know that we deserve this.
Yeah.
And this is where over time, eventually I started realizing like, well, what's like, what are these rules that I'm following? Like, why do I believe that I have to be so important and suffer in life for it to be meaningful and valuable and for people to respect? Like, why? Like, can't I just have fun? Like, life is hard. It's so hard anyway. Can't I just have a little fun? And so that was really, I mean, I know some people really resonate with that, and some people are not driven by fun at all. And fun looks different for everyone, right? My
Yeah.
sister loves to trapeze. For me,
Yeah.
fun is having these kinds of conversations, right? But I was
Yeah.
like, I want to have fun in my life. So why can't I do that? Like, who says it has to be this way? So I really just kind of rewrote the rules, and I got therapy, and I kind of pieced it together myself, and just tried a lot. I forced myself to try. Um, and really, blogging was a huge turning point for me because it allowed me to get into my creativity because I knew I was having to come up with blog posts. I started looking at the world differently and I started paying attention. And then I started seeing opportunities. And then I started playing with it and stopped making it so serious. Like, I need to find this perfect plan B. I'm like, so you'd think I just had a coffee. This like you've got me going, Jillian,
No, I'm
right?
resonating. I'm no, I'm from Chicago. We speak and you're definitely speaking the way I speak. So I didn't see any areas there that I was following you because blogging was what helped me start to really heal and let go of the guilt and shame I had and then realize okay, so up until 2020, like last year, I think, I did not see how big of a problem burnout, suicidal ideation, and wanting to potentially change your career. I thought it's like actually super normal, or I'm just around a lot of the people now because that's my circles change. But up until that point, I thought it was just me. So it took writing a blog about, I write blogs about all of the things I'm most insecure about that are holding me back. And I just put them out there because I'm like, it's holding me back because I'm keeping it in. And there's something here that needs to be let out. And rather than people judging me for it. I mean, they could be judging me for it, but not to my face. And that's okay. Because then I would think that's a projection of their internal, voice and whatever they're projecting on me, just like the people who don't want to play. But instead, rather than people coming and judging me for leaving and calling me a quitter and thinking I was less than, it just brought people into my life that resonated.
100% the same for me too. And in fact, when I'm talking, and I don't know if you encourage your clients to do this, but I'm like, start a blog because it does it. Mine was the same. I like would make my biggest confessions on my blog. Now, sometimes I would have to work it out before I would put it out there because I always like to offer solutions as well in
Exactly.
my
Me too.
writing.
Yeah, me too.
And but going through that process, people are always like, "Oh, thank you so much. Like, I totally resonate with what you're writing, and it's nice to know I'm not alone." What people don't realize is it's probably been more impactful for me because I sort out all these things because I'm going to write about it. It's like, this is how I've grown and changed my way of thinking, is
Yeah.
because I know I'm going to blog about it. It helps me sort it out, but also having them support me. And because this process that you and I have gone through and at times are going through is hard. There's a lot of grief in it. There's a lot of pain. So people don't always know that we need the cheerleading as well, right? So when I had my blog post go viral and I started then deciding, I heard from people all over the world that were thanking me. That changed everything, just like what your blog changed, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm going to start blogging about my career. And it really resonated with people. And I was grieving a lot at that time because even when you quit, you still feel like a failure. You still feel like maybe I'm lazy, maybe there's something wrong with me. There's just a whole process that you go through. And having this like built in tribe of cheerleaders got me through it.
Yeah.
It was amazing. So that community piece is so important.
I agree. And having you as an example of I can leave too, right? I will survive if I leave too, or if as we say, we can help people stay too and understand what is actually at the core of why they're suffering so much, and the skills that we don't learn, and the internal voice that a lot of us have, being mostly type A perfectionistic people, and those life lessons. But even after we develop those life lessons that could reduce the suffering in the job that we're doing, it can help us gain more clarity of like, okay, it wasn't just that internal voice. I'm really onto something, and now I'm ready to go.
Yeah. And what you and I both know, and there are a lot of people out here that know it too, is that like beyond that perfectionism, beyond that having to sort of fit in this mold and make everybody happy and the people pleasing, is this whole world of amazingness. Like this whole world of magic in a way where life just feels different when you can break out of that.
And yes, you said so many. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. It's like, oh gosh, someone just heard that part. I don't want to know what they were thinking about my comments there, but um,
That's
the
amazing. I love
yeah.
it.
This is cool. I just had a conversation about sex ed yesterday. So I was like, well, let's kind of, if they capture just a snippet of that, they may think our discussion's about something else, but we're still on the topic of dentistry careers. So we'll reel it all in. But I was thinking about that play, right? So if we've been in survival mode for so long, our mind doesn't give us, like, if someone told me to play when I was feeling very depressed, I'd be like, screw you, like, you have no idea how painful this experience is. But play is often cited as something that can really help combat burnout because it allows you to get back into your creativity. And so if people are like not wanting to play, I would be, what I think always is get curious. Like, get curious about your thoughts, get curious about the beliefs that you're having that are making you feel so stuck.
Absolutely. And you know what? Playing for me was the turning point. I don't know if you know this, but the reason I started my blog was because one day my husband found this article in the newspaper. There was a little blurb about this travel show host contest that this website was doing. And you had to film a 1 minute video of you like doing this travel skit and submit it and then get everyone to vote for you. And then whoever won would get to be this travel show host for this online show that they were doing. And then you would get to win at the end, like a house in any of the destinations that you got to travel, right? And at first I was like, oh, I can't do that. I don't know how to be on camera, which was true. I'd never been on camera. I'd never done anything, right? I didn't know how to write a little story. I didn't know how to do it. And initially I was like, no, but then I started thinking and I was like, you know what? I've been talking, talking, talking. I need to shift my energy. Like something needs to change. So I decided to do it and I made this video and it's so silly and I had so much fun and I didn't win. But when I was going through that process, I was playing
Yeah.
and I saw how much fun it was and how good I felt. Well, when it ended, I felt really I crashed again and was really sad. And I was like, I need to find a way to turn this into lemonade, you know?
Yeah.
And that was why I started my blog was because I just stepped out of my comfort zone and I just did something that didn't have to have I knew I wasn't going to win, right? There are professionals who do that.
Yeah.
I just was playing. And so that allowed me to then look at all the things that I did moving forward with my career and saying, I'm just going to try it and play with it. Like, so playing doesn't have to mean like I'm playing, bingo or like I'm dancing around. You can play with it with the attitude in your head,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that shift allowed me to then explore and, like you're saying, get curious and then get out of being stuck. And then one door always opens another, and you just eventually figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's coming to mind, like the procrastination of perfectionism and why we wait until we have it all together, and also that growth mindset. Like, I in dental school had a really hard time if I didn't get a solid grade on anything, and I like really took it to a devastating level. Looking back, I can laugh now because I was like, the Pindexes that we made, if I didn't get a great score on it, meant that I was like the worst dentist known to mankind. I should probably quit. And I would let that just kind of follow and domino effect. And then of course, if you're putting on those dark shaded glasses about yourself, then like I always think self-compassion is one of the most underdeveloped skills that many of us have, and the importance of developing self-compassion no matter where they're at. For anyone going through a career transition, I highly recommend that they lead into self-compassion, because as that grief comes up and they'll think, why was I so stupid? Like all these comments like that come up, like, why did I do that to myself? And okay, you know, at the time you were doing the best you could, and now you want to do something different, and it's all okay. It's like sitting there and beating yourself up about it is not helping anybody.
Right. And you know what? I find that in order to really practice that for yourself and give yourself those reframes, you need to surround yourself with people who are going to remind you of that.
Yeah.
Because if you don't get that, you're never going to change it, right? Or it's going to take you longer to change that mindset. Because we all do it.
Yeah, or and if you're around the people who are, that's their mindset too, and no one's changing it, no one's challenging it, right? Because we know, like in some work environments, if it's all really negative, it's really hard to keep going in there every day and say, well, I'll be the positive voice if no one else wants to challenge their own thoughts and behaviors.
Exactly.
I want to talk
Absolutely.
about your traveling, because I know you've got a big travel adventure coming up and you seem to like traveling quite a bit. So tell us more about that.
Ooh, I love traveling. I really do. So I am hosting an event that's called Safari and Side Gigs. So you may have heard of Safari and Smiles. This is my friend Morris Mugo, who's a dental hygienist from Kenya, and he is the coolest side gig. He takes people to his homeland, and actually he does trips throughout Africa, where he does a safari, and he combines that with a dental mission trip and also some continuing education. So we have collaborated to do safari and side gigs where we're going to do a safari. We're going to spend a couple days on this beautiful island right off the coast of Kenya. So it's going to be a mix of adventure and relaxation. And instead of doing mission and like general CE, the CE we're doing is it's how to start your side gig, and it's going to be a retreat. So it's not like sitting in a lecture hall all day listening to someone talk at you. This is going to be an interactive, immersive workshop style event where, because people are so stuck when it comes to this, you get yourself out of your natural habitat. I'm calling it habitat because we're going on a safari, right?
Yeah,
Get
love it.
yourself out of your natural habitat. It allows you to feel free. Surround yourself with other people who are dreaming too. It allows you to really like clear away all of the worries and the fears so that you can really get in touch with your own creative thinking and come up with your best ideas and begin to give yourself permission and really working on the things that are stopping you. So it's going to be a really deep dive and I think really impactful for helping people begin this journey to just design your life how you want.
I love this. And Martha Beck, though, I train with Martha Beck, and she's got the Wayfinder life coaching, and she takes everybody on the safari. Not everybody. She takes the people who pay to go on the safari on the safari, but that's the purpose, right? So this sounds amazing. Yeah, where
Oh
can
yeah, getting yourself out of your environment does help. So we can find, where can people find out about it? Was that what you were
yes,
asking me?
yes, yeah,
So it is on the safarandsmiles.com website. But we have a specific landing page for it that I can share the link with you.
awesome.
Or people can reach out to me in my Facebook group. Is called Dentist Side Gigs. Or if you want to reach out to me on Instagram, my handle is Dr. Lolabees. So Dr. Lolabees. You can reach out to me however you can find me. I'm happy to share it with you. Um, it's going to be a great event.
And for the people who aren't yet ready to go on the safari, but they heard you say about your Facebook group, the Dental Side Gigs, can you repeat it again to invite those people who might be like, I'm interested in looking more into what that means.
Oh, yes. So, by the way, the trip is next May. So, you've got time. So, now's the time to plan. May 15th through the 22nd. So, the Facebook group is called Dentist Side Gigs. And it's a private group just for dental professionals who are really looking for more. And you can find me there. If that feels too far away, right? Reach out to me. I've got other options for you beforehand.
Whoa. I'm curious. I'm like the worst traveler. So I have to live
Are
vicariously.
you?
Yeah, I have to live vicariously through everybody that travels. I don't know. It's like I like routine. I like my safe space. I have a dog so I have
Mm.
everyone that's going, let me know you're going so that you can share the photos with me and your experience as well so I could live vicariously through you. I will deeply appreciate it.
Absolutely. And you know what? I love that and respect that because like I said earlier, what's fun for me is not fun for someone else and vice versa. So you're owning it and choosing this thing that a lot of us love. A lot of us love traveling because it gets us out of our environment, but you're choosing to really pick what you love.
Yeah. Yeah. And you shared tons of great lessons today. I was curious if you had some key takeaways you want to leave the audience with.
I would say stop waiting. This whole process, if you're wanting to change careers or start a side gig or just modify it, stop waiting. It can take a long time. You see my doggy in the background?
Yeah, so cute. Love it.
That's Nola. I call her Nolabees, like Lolabees.
Oh, cute.
Um, but anyway, it's I talk to a lot of dentists who are telling me that they spend all of their like, they don't even feel like themselves outside of work. They dread going to work. They don't they're depressed. Their spouse has to bring them dinner in bed sometimes because they don't want to get out of bed when they get home from work, right? Like things where this is like really impacting your life. It makes me sad when I see people going through this pain who don't feel like there's a way out. And actually, I remember you said something to me one time. Can I repeat something that you
Yeah,
said?
sure.
It's
Sure.
really impacted me. You're
Curious.
gonna you're gonna be like, oh my god, I didn't know it impacted you. You said to me, I thought I I thought I had two options. It was to either suck it up and keep doing the work I was doing or to die.
Yeah.
Do you remember saying that? You
Yeah,
probably
I
said it
remember
lots of
thinking
times.
it. I remember thinking it for 3 years.
Yeah.
I thought that
And
way
you
for
said
3 years.
I've never forgotten that you said that to me.
Yeah.
And this is and that is so powerful because then you discovered that there are options,
Yep.
right? And luckily you did because you saved your life and you chose the life you really wanted. And we're all continuously working on that every day. But when I hear people who are just suffering this way and they won't take, that's how I was. I
Yeah.
Until I did that video contest, I wouldn't take a step. I was just complaining. And so now when I hear it, it just makes me sad because I think it gets better. You deserve it. You deserve to have your life be how you want and to be better. And if and there's support out there for you. So invest in yourself. You've invested hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of dollars. A couple $1,000s more and a little bit of your energy to change is going to be the best investment you could ever make.
And I also think expecting that you'll suck at first was like the greatest relief that I had. My YouTube, it's nice that you're joining me. I'm a little bit better than I was last year. I'm still probably a little awkward, especially at the introductions. But last year I was so super awkward. So I had all excuses in the world not to start a YouTube channel. I had just recovered from being very malnourished, so I had some bloat in my face. I had just gotten braces. I had just moved, like just started a new job, just all this stuff, like all these reasons. I'm like, so that's why I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna start it the most awkward stage and awkward phase possible. And if I hadn't started last year, then I would be making all the mistakes that I had to make. And you would be getting an even worse version of me as a host right now. And you might not want to come back. Right. But but no, but people, what I've realized is that people who also have done YouTube or have done a blog or have done what you're doing and they know what it feels like to be where you are at, then they have more grace and they're here to support you. And the people that judge, I'm a huge Brene Brown fan. I have a What Would Brene Brown Do? But she always talks about like the people who aren't in the arena can't judge you, right? So we have to stop judging ourselves and picking everything apart.
Absolutely. Well, I think you're fantastic, and this has been such a fun conversation. And all of these YouTube podcast conversations that I have are different, and this was awesome. I think this one was really
Mhm.
unique, and you brought out some really um, fun conversations with. I see. I think they're fun. Someone else might not.
Yeah. Well, I didn't get to tell them about your blog about farts. So I guess we're just gonna have to send them to your blog and they can let us know if they also chuckle about what is the exact title of it? I wrote it down here because I
It
laughed.
is. Could a fart change a life?
We're gonna leave the audience with that question. You gotta let
I
us
love
know.
it.
Can a fart change a life?
That's I mean, that is so on brand for me. Thank you. I love that we're ending it that way.
Yeah, we're going to share all your links down below. I know that you already mentioned them, but if we want to leave one last one, like what's the absolute best way to get a hold of you?
I think oh, there's also LinkedIn too, of course. But I would say probably contacting me through my website because not everyone's on every social media platform. So lolabeescareercoaching.com. Um, search 10 reasons your dentist probably hates you too. You'll find me. I have a contact page. Reach out and I'd love to connect.
Yeah, so this is strategic. So you have to go to the website in order to read If a Fart Can Change Your Life. You can read about 10 reasons why dentists hate you too. You can share your thoughts and comments down below. And thank you so much, Laura, for joining me today. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Jillian.